How's everything going? How's everything?
Good, everything's
It's
good.
been like really hectic.
Yeah, crazy. Also, Shira's gone away to pick up the kids tonight. So
Oh.
no one will be with me. Luckily, we're outside. And then tomorrow, I'm going to bring him to a friend before the bat mitzvah. Oh my God, Rain is so good. Rain is really good.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Do you want me to put on this light?
I think it's okay.
Feels like it's dark.
Yeah, it does. All right, we're going to take a seat. We really appreciate everyone wearing masks. We're just still really under guard here, and we really appreciate that. For those of you coming up to speak during the service, it's okay to take off your mask. We have a microphone set up over here. That's the one you'll be using right here in the front, and you'll be closer to everyone else, so that's very nice. Cantor Frank and I are so grateful to be able to celebrate fully Bernie's life. If we were fully doing it, we'd probably fill 2 sanctuaries. I think when Bill and I originally talked, we had even more people here, but this is probably for the best for now, and it's certainly better than last year when we were together. So we're going to begin with the traditional prayers. We start off with Psalm 23, and I'll turn it over to Cantor to lead that.
Adonai roi lo achsar v'nadeshe yar b'tzeli am b'menuchat nachaleli nafshi shover yancheni v'magret tzedek leman shemo ki elech v'kitzal movet lo ira ra ki ata imadi shiftecha u'mishantecha Taroch lefanai shulchan neked surarai deshanta vashemen roshi kosirevaya achtov v'chesed yedefuni koyemei chayai v'shaviti b'vet Adonai Leorech Yamim.
Please join with me if you're familiar in the English, a Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths through his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Today, as we come together to celebrate the life of a truly great individual, someone who brought us such joy and laughter, we are no doubt filled with sadness at Bernie's absence from our life. Just so you know, Everyone in this community has their particular seat. When I think about Bernie, it's in the couches. He would always come a little early and always sit on those couches and would always be the one that would greet us first. I hope today, as we share some words from family and friends, that we really have an opportunity to laugh a little bit and to smile with deep gratitude that we had such a beloved soul in this world. I'd like to read the poem that I believe I shared last year. It's one of my favorite, and I've reserved this for only very unique individuals. It's called Perfection Wasted by John Updike. And another regrettable thing about death is the ceasing of your own brand of magic, which took a whole life to develop and market. The quips, the witticisms, the slant, adjusted to a few, those loved ones nearest, the lip of the stage, their soft faces blanched in the footlight glow, their laughter close to tears, their tears confused with their diamond earrings, their warm pooled breath in and out of your heartbeat, their response and your performance twinned, the jokes over the phone, the memories packed in the rapid access file. The whole act. Who will do it again? That's it. No one. Imitators and descendants aren't the same. We're going to have a memorial light lit. I'm going to invite Bill and Marcy to come up together to light this in honor of their dad. You can just put it down on the
Headline at 11, temple burns down.
Bill, why don't you stay up? We're going to have you go first, and you can move away the music stand if you don't need it.
And I can take off my mask, which might scare all of you, but makes me feel a lot better. Thank you all for coming. This is great. This is a great tribute to him. I'm going to keep this very brief for two reasons. Number one, my father was not very comfortable with being the center of attention. And number two, he hated long speeches and sermons. Present company accepted. Yeah, no problem. I'll remember many things about my dad. One of the most is probably going to be his sense of humor and his laugh. Marcy and I, when we went to Sunday school, we would be let out of Sunday school, and picture this, it's the middle of winter, and your ride's not coming. And they close the temple and lock it, and you can't go back inside to be warm. And your ride still isn't coming. He would trot up about an hour late. And this was something that occurred like almost every week. He would trot up about an hour late. We would run to the car, and just as soon as we were about to grab the handle, he would speed ahead 10 feet. And then we'd chase, picture that, we're chasing after the car. And we're just about to the car again, and he would back up 10 feet. And by the time we finally got into the car, we weren't very happy, but my father was laughing so hard, he could hardly breathe. Think about things like that, and the time that he gave my sister away as a prize at one of my birthday parties. I think about all the lunches we used to have. He was my rock. And we used to have these lunches, and inevitably it always ended with him trying to set me up with a waitress. He was, as Paul, my brother-in-law, mentioned yesterday, he was a unique individual. He wasn't like a cookie cutter father. He was true to himself. I got a call yesterday from Bill Kozlowski, who was invited but sorry that he couldn't come. And he goes, I had many people in my life or business associates, but I only had one that became a true friend, and that was Bernie. So, suffice it to say, Dad, I miss you, but I'm comforted by the fact that you told me shortly before you died that you knew love, that you were ready, and that you were just happy to lead the life that you had left. And we should all be so fortunate.
Thank you, Bill. I'd like to invite Marcy now.
Just tilt it down, it'll go down.
This is something I wrote to my family shortly after he passed away. Said, if there ever was a true mensch, it was my dad, Bernie. He was always there to listen and not advise. Told us the truth we sometimes did not want to hear. He loved to laugh, was always curious and eager to learn. He did not hold grudges, but above all else, he was kind and generous and truly lived life to the fullest. A person everyone in our family and beyond couldn't help but admire and want to emulate. In this way, he lives on in all of us, and we carry him into all generations. And he was my hero.
Next, I'd like to invite Gert.
Well, even today, whenever I feel like I'm going to cry, then I think of something funny that he said that we did. And our very, very first trip, big trip that he took me on, it was to Venice. And we had to wait 12 hours in one airport, 5 hours in the other one. Can you imagine Bernie waiting that long, of being patient he was? And we get there and we took a cab. This is where we're going to go. This is the hotel. And he dropped us off. There's the highway, and there's water, and there's more highway. Well, how do we get across? Take a water taxi. There was no water taxis. It was midnight already. So there were stairs, 40 up, 40 down, 40 up, 40 down to get across. And here we are, schlepping our luggage. Not like today, where it's so much easier with the handles. And there were two men speaking half in Italian, half in English. Oh, young men, strong. And I said, would you do me a favor? Would you take our luggage up? Because look at all these stairs. No problem. And they did. And Bernie went into his pocket to give them some money. They wouldn't take it. We get to the so-called hotel. We found somebody finally who spoke a little English, led us to an alleyway, no lighting, and there was the hotel with lights on. Yay. And I'm ringing the doorbell, and he's hysterical laughing. Now, what is he laughing at? Why? Because of the chain across the front of the hotel. If somebody's inside, they can't get out, there's a chain across. Oh, God. So here we are, again with the luggage. We get to the main drag. There's another building with lights on. Thank God it was a hotel. They knew who we were. They upgraded our room from teensy tiny to tiny. And if you know Bernie, he was kind of a big man. He hated little rooms, but we survived it. And then fast forward, we went on a gondola ride. And, just the stereotype, the beret with the derby hat with the ribbons. and the guy's not doing anything, he's just steering the little gondola. So Bernie said, gee, we stayed at the Venetian Hotel at Las Vegas, and they sang opera to us. He said, well, I can do opera. So he conversed with him, because Bernie could make friends in a closet, and the man sang some opera, and then he stopped, and Bernie's explaining to me why the buildings don't sink, and on the right is this, and on the left is that, blah, blah, blah. And then we go to disembark, and he said, hey, mister, you want a job? You know an awful lot. And but you always laughed when you're with Bernie. But you could cry too. We cried a lot together also. And I just feel so lucky. I had 17 years. I said it was a 17-year honeymoon. And our family, they are now my family, he never lost it. He never lost his warmth. He never lost his sense of humor. I would still walk by him. He would pick up my hand and kiss it and tell me, how happy I made him. We'd have a contest. I'd say, oh, I'm so lucky. And he would say, no, I'm the lucky one. We'd go back and forth. And, then we'd come to the conclusion we were both lucky. And may he rest in peace. He deserves it. And the memories of him will be with everybody, mostly of laughing. Thank you.
As Gert's getting settled there, I just realized that Bernie had played a practical joke on me all these years, and I didn't even realize it. I always call people on their birthdays, and I have my list, and every time I called Bernie, Herm would answer. We had the numbers reversed, and I thought it was just a problem with our system, but I realized just now that was Bernie playing a practical joke on me. Brandon, we're now going to hear from a number of the grandchildren.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Today's it's a beautiful day. We're all here together to celebrate the life of someone we love. He was a father to 2, a grandfather to 5, significant other to some, and a friend to many. If he were here today, it would warm his heart to see all of us here celebrating the gift of knowing him and the impact he had on us all. There's a poem he has on his wall that I want to share with you all. That man is a success, who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who has gained the respect of intelligent women and men and the love of children, who never lacks appreciation of the earth's beauty or fails to express it, who follows his dreams and pursues excellence in each task, and who brings out the best in others and gives only the best of himself. I feel that we should all take a page out of his book and live by these words. This being a memorial service and a celebration of life, I think the best way to remember him is by spreading his message and living like him, by putting others first, doing your absolute best no matter the task at hand, and to be grateful for every moment, because life is a gift, and so is knowing him. His infectious laugh that could make a room full of people smile, or his alarming cough that could make a room full of people concerned. It isn't the physical things he left behind that matters, but the lessons and memories that he's left for us that will last a lifetime or even generations. His legacy will continue to live on. If there are 2 things that are certain about my grandfather, it's that no one looks better in suspenders, and he always brought out the best in people, and we are all better for knowing him. He's left an impact on a countless number of people, and I think that's what he would have wanted. He died a successful man. So, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.
Next we have Elliot.
Hi, everybody. Whoa. Thank you all so much for coming. It feels really good to look out on a room full of people who love my grandpa. I'm gonna try not to get emotional as I do this speech. I did not really plan anything. I'm just gonna wing it. My grandpa was such an incredible, incredible man. I learned so much. he was basically like a parent to me. He was a father, a mother, and a best friend. And he and I would have so much fun. I have so many stories that I could share about moments that I have with my grandpa where we were just having the best time. One amazing story that comes to mind in a whole slew of incredible stories and memories is that I used to smoke cigarettes. And it was not something that I'm proud of, but one time my grandpa and I went to Toronto, and he was kind of teasing me about smoking cigarettes, and he said, "Oh yeah, you want to smoke cigarettes? Let me buy you a cigar." So he bought me a cigar, and he was like, "Go ahead, smoke this cigar." And I got so sick from smoking this cigar that basically I ended up quitting smoking cigarettes pretty soon thereafter. Yeah. But he just had the most incredible, the pattern that I hear and the theme of what I hear being shared about my grandpa, his sense of humor was top notch. And his laugh was just so incredible. His head would go back when he would laugh, and you could see his cavities. It just had the most incredible laugh. He taught me so much about how to love and care for people, and how to be humble, and how to care about other people, oftentimes more than you center yourself. He would always center others. So anyways, thank you all so much for coming, and to my grandpa.
I think we have a new method for quitting smoking. Never heard of that one, though. Suzanne is going to go next.
Hi, everybody. Again, thanks for coming and joining us through wildfire smoke, pandemics, Friday, whatever else. Thanks for being with us today. So, like you guys were saying, there's so many stories, but I chose to go with one which just kind of exemplifies something that, again, the theme is that he's an incredibly warm, kind-hearted, funny as hell person. I can say hell here because we're among Jews, but it's okay. So funny as hell. So I was staying with him when I was a teen, and there was some sort of bug in his house. And, you know, I went to go probably give it a swift swat or something like that. And I was just like, oh my God, it's a bug. And he just said, he was like, no, I'll take care of it. So, you know, you hear the phrase, wouldn't hurt a fly. Quite almost literally, he would not hurt the fly. He was just like, no, I don't believe in killing anything unnecessarily. I mean, man eats a lot of meat, but he would not kill anything unnecessarily. And it just really stuck with me. It's like he would actually capture all the bugs in his house, and he wouldn't actually kill any of them. I don't know if Gert, you spent more time with him in the domicile, but he wouldn't. And I think that that's like one of the most special things that I hold about. Is like, no, he really wouldn't hurt a fly. So what a genius. Anyway, thank you.
Next, we have Gert's daughter, Deborah.
So he introduced me. I'm Gert's daughter. So 4 years after my father died, my mom and Bernie became a couple. They started dating in January 2004, was it? And very shortly thereafter, by the third date, they went to listen to a speaker. It was my mother's suggestion. And Bernie fell asleep. And at the time, you know, she didn't know that he had narcolepsy. So she took it personally. Oh, he didn't like my choice of date. She and I, at the time, were emailing each other pretty often. Is he going to ask me out again? I don't know. When he dropped me off, he left the car running. Am I ever going to see him again? Well, within a couple of months after that, they decided to go on a trip to Toronto. I have family in Toronto. And they were going to stay with my cousin Etta. And I said, Mom, how many guest rooms does Etta have? Oh, only one. So the joke between my mom and Etta was, I won't tell your mother if you won't tell my mother. So the point of all this is that very quickly, Bernie and my mom connected as a very loving couple. He became my stepfather. For years, I had a long commute driving home, and I would call to talk to my mom every day. I would call her house, I would call Bernie's house, and he would often joke, you didn't really want to talk to me, did you? You really wanted to talk to your mom. Well, you know what? Your mom and I broke up, so I don't know where she is. She's out with her new boyfriend. So that just exemplifies, he always made people laugh. He always made me laugh, always made me feel like I still had a dad. And now, because of him, I have a new family. And we miss him terribly. I'm sorry. But it just goes to show you how he impacted all of us, and we'll always be grateful for knowing him and for loving him, and he'll always be in our hearts. Thank you.
And for our last speaker, we have his business partner, Bob Engel.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a little bit slow and unsteady, so that'll help me. Thank you.
Do you want to speak?
No, this is right there will be fine. I need some position behind, in case I forgot my fly. So, good morning. My name is Bob Ingold. I'm CEO and president of Commercial Collection. And if you haven't heard of that before, that's a company that Bernie formed in 1962 with his beloved wife, Estelle. I've met Gert. She's a wonderful person, but Estelle was like a soulmate to me. She was the conscience of Commercial Collection. They founded it, as I said, in '62. They founded it on their kitchen table and on their laundromat. They had a dryer and a washer, which operated as their file room. And it was the two of them. And I joined them in 1979. But by that time, the business of Commercial Collection had been formed on the basis of honesty, integrity, customer service, and customer relationships. Those were all what Bernie stood for. And he built them into the business, and they continue today. Those same principles will probably still be here 60 years later. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 60th anniversary. And I remember about 20 years ago, M&T came into our office and looking at a mortgage or whatever. And the mortgage officer said, you have something to be very proud of in Buffalo, keeping a business going that long successfully. Well, it was something Bernie had to be very proud of, because he and Estelle built it, and they nurtured it, and they invested, as Bill and Marcy know, their whole life. It was their third child, it might have been their first child, I don't know. So, speaking of Estelle, I finally have to publicly apologize for throwing her under the bus all these years later. This has been 25, 30 years ago when she passed away, but if you knew Bernie back in those days, you knew he had a temper. So when you tell him bad news, he reacted very poorly to it. But what Bernie did do is he subscribed to the theory that he lost his temper, he forgave quickly, and he forgot equally as quick. So at the end of the day, I would tell Estelle bad news. and then sneak the hell out of there in a hurry. Well, by the next morning, I'm sure, and I know Estelle and Bernie would talk about it at dinner table. I can't tell you the number of dinners I ruined for them. But the next day, Bernie was on to solving problems, not worrying about them. So we would get through that by the grace of Estelle. He was a very passionate, very emotional man. But as the theme, as you all heard, boy, could he laugh. He was a fabulous, had a fabulous sense of humor. And I remember he went into Kenmore Mercy to have his gallbladder removed. And if you know, back in those days, not like today, they would cut you open, they would take your gallbladder, they'd stitch you up, they'd hand you a pillow, and they'd say, don't cough. So Judy, and I don't know where Judy is, but she's over here. She and I went and saw Bernie the next day. And within 5 minutes, Bernie was regaling us with the humor of the hospital and everything that happened to him. And I can remember today Bernie yelling, please, dear God, don't make me laugh. Because he couldn't help himself. He had to laugh. So he was a wise man beyond any person I've ever met. And the principles, as I said, that he established in 1962 will still be going on years from now. And it'll always share the legacy of Bernie and Estelle Engel. Thank you.
And we have one final speaker.
Hello. I'm Scott Herman. I met Bernie when I was 9 years old and moved to Buffalo. He and my mother became friends through Mensa, and he became sort of an extra grandfather for me. And my grandfather was a 32nd degree Mason, and he died hours after my 21st birthday. And I was always told growing up that when I turned 21, that he would take me through the Masonic Lodge and, make me a Mason. And he couldn't do that. But Bernie stepped in. Bernie had been master of the Lodge of Perseverance Suburban on and off for years. And he stepped in and he nurtured me through the 3 degrees to become a Master Mason. And it always meant so much to me. He was like another grandfather to me. Bernie had an amazing memory. Anybody who has a good sense of humor and remembers piles of jokes has to have an amazing memory. But one of the things you have to do to become a Mason is you have to memorize a series of speeches, and maybe it's like 10 minutes of speaking, and that in of itself is not that hard for me, but hard for other people. But then at the end of when you're all done, and I can't give you all details or else I might have to kill you. He gave a speech which is required for the person who's the person running the degrees, and it must have been an hour long, where he had to word for word go through this long speech. What a memory that guy had. Just absolutely amazing. I had the pleasure of having lunch with him just a few weeks before he died. I didn't even know he was sick. And he told me about his military service, which he'd never talked about to me before. And I'm so glad I got a chance to hear from him about all that he had done. He was also a mentor in the Big Brother program. I don't think that got mentioned. Just such a kind and generous person and cared about people. And I miss him dearly. And I'm so glad he had you. That's all I have to say.
How grateful we are for Bernie's life, all that he gave us, and I hope that we continue to laugh cry and share Bernie's stories. I'm going to invite you to rise. We have the memorial prayers, just like we had done at the memorial. El Male Rachamim, we know his soul has found a safe resting place, and we have his Hebrew name, Baruch ben Daniel.
El Male Rachamim, Shochin B'Maromim, Amsem Nuchan Chona, Tachakafe Hashechina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezahabakia, Mazirim, Et Nishmat Baruch ben Daniel, Shehalach Le'olamo, Bal harachavim, Yastirehu b'seter knafav, Le'olamim. Bitzaro, Bitzaro hachayim, Et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, Le'anuach v'shalom, Al mishkavo, V'namar, Amen.
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Bernie Engel, Baruch ben Daniel, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And we say together, Amen. We're going to turn to the mourner's Kaddish. This is not a prayer about sadness. It's about life. It's about sanctifying our lives and everything that's in it and the people that we love. We do it in memory of Bernie, just like we have done over the course of this past year, and will continue to do as we remember him in subsequent years at important holidays and on the yard-site of the anniversary of his death and other occasions when we're thinking and our hearts are sad for him. It has no melody. Those of you familiar, please just recite it with me. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, B'alma divra chirete v'yamlik malchute, B'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agalav yizman kariv yimru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam olmeo maya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata Damiran bi'alma v'yimeru Amen. Yehei shlam Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru Amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn, comfort to all the bereaved among us. Zichrono livracha, may his memory always be for a blessing. It's great gratitude that we were able to gather here. And I know, let's see, Bill, we are going somewhere else. Is there an announcement about that?
Over to Classics 5.
Okay, just want to make sure before I announce it. Okay, so Classics 5, and what's the timing on that?
It's going to be 8 o'clock now. It's going to be 12:30.
At 12:30, everyone's encouraged to celebrate. Classics 5 is right off of the 290 on Niagara Falls Boulevard to the right there. And I hope that you'll join to celebrate and to share and to eat and schmooze, things that Bernie would have loved. And be careful if a car drives up to you, don't let it drive away. All right, take care.